Hello everyone, welcome to the latest Lunchtime Bites webinar from the ICBE Advanced Productivity SkillNet. Today our presenter is Dr. Hakeem Hammad from XI Horizons Consulting. Hakeem is an internationally recognized thought leader and expert in developing and implementing operational excellence programs. He's the founder of XI Horizons Consulting based in Limerick since 2010. He is a certified Six Sigma Master Black Belt at Dell and Motorola with experience in training and continuous coaching improvement teams and executives in more than 25 countries. He has more than 23 years of extensive global experience of leading lean transformations and strategic Six Sigma deployments in manufacturing, IT, quality service, supply chain engineering, and sales. Today's topic is the power of supervisor standard work, key enablers and challenges. Over the course of 30 minutes, Hakeem will show us how supervisor standard work can enable supervisors to effectively manage their main resources of time and people, and guide us through the 7 core expectations that supervisors need to focus on and exceed in order to move from firefighters to proactive leaders. The ground rules for today: Hakeem will present for approximately 20 minutes, finishing up at about 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes for questions and answers. Everyone is muted, but we really do encourage you to supply questions or comments via the chat function, which we'll call out at the end of the presentation. If you encounter problems with broadband, please bear with us. This session is being recorded. And without further delay, I'll pass you over to the trusted hands of Hakeem Hammad.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be participating in the ICBE webinar seminars. That's really helped the organization to go through these difficult times for the COVID-19 period. Today, I want to highlight some of the important and key enablers and challenges for supervisor standard work, and why I believe that supervisor standard work is a key tool that enables supervisors to achieve their goal and have really a good way of monitoring and performing according to the expectation from senior management. Going to the next slide. This is exactly, I'm not going to have too many slides today because it's 20 minutes, and I think it just is a food for thought, and then maybe the questions will be more helpful about what people want to know more about the presentation. Today I'm going to talk about what is exactly the supervisor standard work and why we need a supervisor standard work, and what are the 7 core expectations from a supervisor, and how these 7 core expectations can be achieved with a good supervisor standard work. And then I'm going to give an example of supervisor standard work and examples of key questions to go and observe for the standard work. Go and observe during the Gemba walk, and then we'll open it to question and answer. This is a question I think in mentioned nicely. You know, my profile. This is just some of the companies I worked with over the last 10 years. Abit, Alir, Nestle, Bestion. I was also in Boston Scientific for a number of years, and more in Dell. I spent more than 8 years. So what is a supervisor standard work? Well, it is a simple and well-defined standard activities that are to be completed on a frequent interval, on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. And it's very important to define those activities upfront. It really focuses supervisor on doing the right things and avoiding being distracted. So it's very easy for supervisors to get distracted. I think the supervisor standard work put a structure around the supervisor daily activities, and try to minimize and eliminate the disruption to his time. We don't want him to just to be busy, we want him busy doing the right things. It also increases the ability of the supervisor to focus on exploring and solving problems and ensure that these problems solved in a timely manner. It also allows supervisor to be a coach and a helper and a serious overseeing for the operators on the shop floor. So supervisor is a coach. So you can't coach operators if you are not on the shop floor with them. You can't help them if you are not with them. It creates an alignment between supervisor and a support staff. If support staff have a standard work and a supervisor have a standard work, and they all align, then it creates alignment between them. If there is a root cause analysis meeting will happen, is scheduled for the support staff and for the supervisor. And so that meeting goes smoothly. And then we're not waiting for people, we're not searching for resources. Also, senior management will be aligned with this because they will have standard work as well aligned with the supervisor's standard work. It ensures alignment on best practices across the shift. So we don't need different shifts with different performance, with different targets, with different way of performing. No, it really enables sharing of best practices. And again, it provides a basis for continuous improvement for supervisor performance. So as a supervisor, they need to improve their performance on a regular basis. So the supervisor standard work will allow them to review this standard work on a quarterly basis and see what went well over the last quarter, how can I make it better, what's the improvement for the next quarter. So supervisor standard work, like operator standard work, need to be reviewed and improved at least once per quarter. So why we need supervisor standard work? Well, it's very simple. In lean manufacturing organizations, the focus on those three key pillars or principles or fundamentals: the standard work, the flow and pull, flow when you can and pull when you can't have a flow, pull systems, and performance measurement. And in order to embed these principles or these pillars into the organization, we need support by strategic planning, Kaizen culture, as self-directed teams who really act as, that drive improvement from the shop floor onward. They take the ownership, they take the time to define and participate. Also reward and recognition system that really help us to, define good performance and acknowledge the good performance in a timely manner. Also benchmarking, internal benchmarking and external benchmarking. You can do internal within the company and you can do internal within another site of the same company, or you can do external with other companies as well. Change management, this is a major change initiative. So we need to ensure that we have a good change management to support that initiative. Visual controls, it's about visual management. It's very easy to see, are we winning or losing? Are we meeting the target? Are we on track? And so on. Localized mentors who really help drive continuous improvement at lowest level in the organization. So the mentors everywhere in every department, and they're available all the time to help support the process. Production smoothing and set up reductions, quality at source, and problem solving. So there's all these, I would call it initiatives or programs, will help embed these pillars into the organization in order to continue the lean manufacturing organization journey. Now, so management have expectations from supervisor. So what are those? Based on my experience with driving and implementing lean transformations across different countries, starting from Ireland here, where I spent 7 or 8 years at Dell and 4 years at Boston Scientific, and working as a consultant with Abbott Nutrition, Abbott Vascular, a lot of companies worldwide, Vestion. Most of the time, there is a high expectations from management to the supervisors. And it's very important to define upfront what management expects from supervisor, and then develop a standard work that helps supervisor achieve those basic expectations for management. The first expectation is availability on the shop floor. And this is little bit, a debate point. How much of my time should I spend on the shop floor? I have meetings to go. I have this, I have that. I can't be on the floor. You go to the floor and you find that, out of 8 hours, supervisor was only 2 hours on the floor. Well, you're supposed to be on the floor. But if there is no standard work that, capture what the day should look like for a standard work and what is expected from him, how much time he be on the floor monitoring the performance, how much time he need to be involved in project improvement, how much time he should allocate to miscellaneous random activity, that need to be upfront decided. Goal and priority settings. It's very important for supervisor to set the priority. You need to have a priority per month, a priority per week, and then how I divide the weekly priority on a daily priority. And then in each day, how I set my priority, how I train my people, my supervisor assistant to help him set the priority for the production line, for example. Create a teamwork environment that strives to exceed the goal. Yes, I think it's very important that, the people are not competing with each other. People are working together to achieve the goal. The success of the team is the success of the individual. And that culture needs some time. And supervisor's role is very important. He needs to coach people. He needs to explain why we need to work in this environment and what it takes from me to be effective in driving the teamwork environment, and then how to recognize them in a timely manner. Number 4, delegation and empowerment of team members. Yes, sometimes supervisors try to do everything themselves, and they could delegate. And by delegate, they give empowerment to the people and they free up their time. So it's very important that people, supervisor understand delegation is there to help them and they can use it. And it's help for them and help for, develop other people. If you give them responsibility, you help them to develop to the next level. Effective and timely decision making. That's very important. Supervisor need to make a decision. So he need to know the tools and he need to understand what is the best way to make a good decision. A continuous reward or recognition of good performance. That's very important. Not once a day or once a week or once a month. No, this need to be a culture. There has to be someone doing good job on a daily basis, and we need to recognize them so they keep doing good work on a usual basis or a continuous basis. Continuous operator coaching and developing. So you need to develop and coach operators. This is why, this is one of the roles, as I said before, that, supervisor need to be beside the operator. They need to observe their work. They need to coach them. Coach them not only for the work, but coach them on even a personal development. Sometimes operators have, a problem related outside of the work, and sometimes they need someone to talk to. And I think if you are there and they can talk to you at the start of the shift, for example, you help ease the stress they have and you help them go through a productive day. These are the 7 expectations based on my experience that everywhere I go, it doesn't matter in Costa Rica, it doesn't matter in San Francisco or in Tunisia or in Morocco or in Ireland or in Switzerland or in Germany. Most of the time, these are the expectations that senior management would expect from supervisors. Now, as a supervisor, how can I meet those expectations? Well, you cannot meet those expectations without having a strong, structured program for your day-to-day activities. So creating a day-to-day activities to address these activities is really very important. So this is a simple example of a supervisor standard work. As you can see, different colors. This is for, the first one here is for the night shift, and then for the early morning shift, and then the afternoon shift. You can see you can't even have the same standard work for the 3 shifts because there are different activity happening at each different shift. But let's go through the first one. You start with shift handover and then Gemba 1 walk, including 5-minute check email. So the Gemba walk, this is very important. You ask people, did you do a Gemba walk? Yes, I did. Okay, what's the outcome of the Gemba walk? How you do a Gemba walk? This is again a challenge. So planning and deciding what to do in the Gemba walk is very important. So one-to-one coaching. Okay, when you coach an operator, what question would you ask him? How you start the session, how you close the session, how you follow up on this. Communication with your assistant. If a supervisor have an assistant, okay, what type of communication you would have them, how you structure the communication. Then skills matrix, cross-training matrix. Do you have a cross-training matrix? What it should like? What's your training plan? Email administrative. Any administrative work can fit into that area. Then break. The Gemba walkthrough. How you perform the Gemba walkthrough. Coaching, random task, training and certification. Now for this line, training and certification probably has a big part because it's a new line that introduced, so that the training requirement is big. So this is why a big chunk of his work is really to follow on training or certification. Then the third Gemba walk, and then one-to-one coaching, and then email and preparing and conducting shift handover. You can see that he was able, or she was able to do a 3 coaching because it's at night, probably less meetings and so on. But this could be less into the second shift and so on. So this is a simple example for a standard work for supervisor. But the most important thing is defining what takes place or what needs to be done in each of those elements. And for demonstration, I'm going to take the Gemba walk 1 and Gemba walk 2 and talk about them. So, as I said, from the core expectations is availability on the shop floor. So one of the things that to ensure availability on the shop floor is the Gemba walk. So you have 3 Gemba walk that supervisor will be on the shop floor. So through the Gemba walk, supervisor use a set of questions for each area to learn about what is the current state, what is the challenges, and what help do we need to ensure his or his team meet the goal for the entire development. And it also makes supervisor close. If I am constantly 3 times a day monitoring them and be on the line, it gives them clear visibility to the people on the floor. And again, it creates more environment, more friendly environment. And people will feel that supervisor is very close to the operator, so they can share everything they need with them, from improvement, from problems, from everything. So this is an example of 3 questions during go and observe the first Gemba. So this is the first Gemba, and as you can see, for the first shift, it starts between 7 to 8, exactly at the start of the shift. For the second shift is 3 to 4, exactly where the start of the shift. For the night shift from 11 to 12, exactly this is the start of the shift. So immediately at the start of the shift, this is the Gemba walk. Now there are different departments here that supervisor has: weighing, dispense, processing, dryer, packing. So when he go to the first area, okay, this is the type of questions he keep in his mind, or he can print that paper with him. Any safety and quality concern? Do we have enough people? What is the target for today? What is the priority for today? Is there any escalating issue from the previous shift? Are we set up for success today? What help do you need from me? You check the batch record and documentation, and then have we met setup targets? So because he will go through all of these, setup targets sometimes can be 5 minutes, can be 10 minutes. So it will be very good for him to see, are we doing good on the setup target? Are we okay to achieve our goal, and so on. And you can see this is like the number of shifts, and then what went well, and improvement key findings. So in each of those guides in Gemba walk, he defined what's the things that are going well and what improvement key findings they observe. Now for the second Gemba, which is really now it's 10:30 to 12, 5:30 to 7, and so on. So this type of questions he can ask. Any safety and quality concern? How are we doing so far? Are we winning? Have we updated the visual management board of the work area? Then you review and provide feedback on what's been done so far. Are we on track to meet the shift targets? Do you have an excess capacity that we can share with other departments? So he has 5 departments. So is there a spare capacity I can share with other departments? Any idea for improvement? Any challenges? Then he can perform operator coaching. He take one operator. He have a list, a check sheet or questions to ask the operator. He doesn't, if he can take him out of station, fine. If not, he can do it at the station. It's not a big deal. Then audit operator standard work. So you'd at least audit 2 operator standard work. You just stand You do the 10-cycle analysis, you observe, and you have the standard work in your hand, and it's an opportunity to see, are we meeting the standard work times, what opportunity, and so on. So he is there. Check batch record, documentation. If there is an error with batch record, he immediately speaks to the people to correct it rather than wait at the end of the shift or the second day to search who made the mistake, look for them, and so on. And in summary, you know, I would say supervisor standard work is about doing the right thing at the right time, in the right way to achieve the desired performance and make sure that supervisor have fun. Because supervisors, most of the time, they complain on a continuous basis. They always look for, you know, 1-2 years in the job and look for another job. Why? Because they feel that they have to spend 2 hours every day to do the paperwork. They feel that they're scattered everywhere. They feel they're distracted. They feel stressed. There is a lot of concern from the supervisor standard work. So to get them doing the right thing at the right time, in the right way to achieve the desired performance and enjoy, make their life happy, that's exactly what the standard work is about. And this is exactly what I got from people. I coach them across different sites, different area, different countries. You know, that standard work really made my life easy, made me to say, no, I cannot go for meeting with you now because I have a standard work I have to follow. And management respected that. You know, make supervisors stop the distraction. If someone want to say, I want to a quick issue to share with you now. No, sorry, there's a standard work. I'm just following my standard. If you want to meet me, I have this slot for administrative work. Welcome. And this is why it has to be clear, agreed by the whole organization, posted in an area so people know what standard, what supervisor is doing at this moment of time. Hopefully that add value to yourselves, and I'm welcome to any question and answer. I'm not sure how much is the time. We are 20.
Hakeem, you're bang on time. Thank you very much, because I know this is a big area and a big interest area for you, so it's hard to compress it all, but thank you for giving some very granular examples, because that certainly helped me. Can I just say we have about 10 minutes for questions. There's some already in, and if people just use the chat, we'll just add them on and call them out. The first question for you, Hakeem. It can be difficult to convince senior management to allow the time and financial investment for the development of these type of training management systems. Have you any suggestions for convincing management about the merit?
You see, management need to be involved in the creation of the standard work. This is number one. You can't create a supervisor standard work with management disconnected from that. And management, you know, the site achieve their goals or not achieving their goals based on supervisor achieving their goals. If supervisor achieving their goals, everybody will be happy. So management want to achieve their goals. And if management can go for a benchmarking visit to a site that has a good example of standard work, where they can speak to supervisors and operations manager and the site director about what impact did supervisor standard work had, that will help them a lot.
Great, and that could be a benchmarking visit to, wouldn't even need to be the sister company, it can be any.
I can organize, I can help people. There is a lot of organizations that I work with them myself, help them develop the standard work. It's not, so developing the standard work is one thing. Coaching supervisor through that standard work is very important, because, you know, before I develop the standard work with the supervisors, I have a day in life with them. I observe them, what they do, how much distraction they have. And then I report that to their management and say, okay, let's see how much of your time your supervisor add value to the production, and how much is a required waste or a pure waste, whatever it is. I think every management wanted to meet their target, wanted to have a supervisor doesn't stay for 6 months or 1 year and then go for another job. If supervisor keep leaving the same area on a continuous basis, there's something wrong, and management need to address that.
Right. Another question for you, Hakeem. Is there a correct amount of time on to spend on the floor,
so
or a minimum, even if there's a minimum?
You see, minimum is 60%. So the standard work will help you with this. So the ideal is 60% monitoring the shop floor, 20% engage in improvement activity. That's 80%, and around 15 to 20% to random tasks. So at least 80% of your time or 85% of your time should be on the floor. And you know what, even meetings, you know, I remember an example when I was observing a supervisor, there was a planning meeting. So I was following the supervisor and he's telling Hakeem, I'm going to the planning meeting. I said, why? Oh, this is a planning meeting. We review the plan. I said, fine. So I went. He left the production and go all the way. And I said, why? And we have like 3 supervisors from 3 different areas going to the planning office, and said, why the planning doesn't go to them? Why you guys need to leave the floor? You don't leave the floor. So I think when you do day in life and you look at these activities, why I need to leave, why I need to have these meetings, you know, and there is an operations manager that need to be there and need to be engaged in this process. Because remember, the focus of the supervisor is the flow and continuous production of units. If they are not there, you cannot achieve this. So you need to decide what's my priority.
Hakeem, do you recommend visualizing the results of standard work completion rates, or should it be more trust-based?
That's a good question. You know, in one of the sites in Germany, we implemented standard work. And I want people to also to keep in mind that implementing supervisor standard work doesn't happen over a 2-week period or 3-week period or 4-week period. It takes time, absolutely. And everybody needs to be, because you try to get people to change the way they do things, and it takes time. So what we did in that site, we were lucky that when you exit the clean room, there's an area where you can post something. So what we agreed with management that we created the standard work in an A3 sheet that back, you know, on the front, the standard work, and at the back, there's 5 days, and every day we summarize what we need to do. And every supervisor on a daily basis, they will update what they have done on the supervisor standard work. And at the end of the week, they take that laminated standard work sheet and they post it outside. So at the end of the week, you can see all the shift supervisor standard work is there, the material handler standard work is there, and you know, the engineer standard work there, the technician, and you can see everything, you know, dotted, dashed, and doesn't look very clean, but at least people use it and you can see it. You know, it took us some time. The first time, one supervisor did it for 2 days, or one for 1 day. The second time it's better, the third time, and so on. And then they got it. In management now, when they go, they can see what's happened over the last week. They can see every day what was the yield, what was the quality, the output, what is the OEE, what's the highlight, what's the low light, day by day, and they can see what's being done through Gimba 1, what's being done through Gimba 2, Gimba 3, and so on. So operator will see it, management will see it, anybody will see it. It's all on this outside. So it is very important to make it visual outside. So not only operator will have to follow the standard work, supervisor will have to follow the standard work, management will have to follow standard work, site leader will have to follow standard work.
Nice, and start a revolution at the supervisory level and work upwards. Hakeem, can I just ask you, what you described is a very well-formed leader, the supervisor, but some of those skills are, you know, some people have them intuitively, some will have them being natural to them. Can you just talk a little bit about what the training needs would be in order to have a supervisor who's at that level where they could implement standard work?
They need one-to-one coaching. You know, they need one-to-one coaching. So in all of the cases, so if I have 4 supervisors, let me take the Germany example. I have 3 supervisors or 4 supervisors across 3 shifts. So we had to work with all of them and we had to get all their input into the standard work. And then I had to work with them, coach them in order to get them understand how to react, when to jump in, when to jump out, what you should do in this situation, what you shouldn't do. I remember an example where I was following a supervisor, and then there was an issue with one of the operators, and he called the supervisor. So supervisors went upstairs to the 3rd floor, and I went with him. And then the operator was there, and then the technician was there, and the operator was trying to call someone on call. And I said to supervisor, why he's calling them? And why he's calling you, and why there is a technician here. He said, I know, I need to ask him. And he said that we have a failure rate, and I just need to get his opinion on this. I said, fine. So we waited until it finished. I said, okay, is this guy new in this? He said, no, he's a very experienced guy. I said, is this technician experienced? He said, yes. I said, can the two of them make the decision? He said, yes, they can. Did you give them the authority to make a decision and inform you? Or they have to call you on everything? If you need to be called in every single failure or every single task, then you need to split yourself into 5.
That's true. With a well thought out system, it can be a lot more fluid.
Yes, and that supervisor was always, he is there for 25 years. And he was a good operator, then promoted to a supervisor. And what I found is he mixed between operator and supervisor. And I said to him, remember, you're not an operator, you're a leader. You need to provide leadership. This is not your task. This is your task. So help them to define what exactly your role is. That's the role of supervisor and coaching, because a document is a document without really someone to help you walk through it. This is the problem. We spend time developing standard work, but we spend less time implementing. And to be honest with you, 10% is the development, 90% is the implementation for successful standard work implementation. And you need at least 3 months. I'm not saying you need coaching for 3 months, but you need 3 months follow between management, leadership, until it's stick. And then until supervisors see, you know what, I'm not staying 2 hours late, Hakeem, anymore. Before we started, he was spending 2 hours every day to do the paperwork. Then after that, you know what, I'm not spending 2 hours every day. I do everything through an 8-hour shift. My family is happy. So that's the beauty of supervisor standard work.
Yeah, and as you alluded to earlier on, this is part of a change journey for people. So, you know, the one-to-one coaching is kind of a key component of that. Hakeem, thank you very much. We've now reached it's now 25 to 2. I don't want to hold people back from lunch anymore, but Hakeem Hammad, thank you very much for those excellent insights. And the video and slides will be uploaded to the ICBE website later today or tomorrow. And finally, thank you very much to everyone who attended today, and look forward to seeing you on the next ICBE lunchtime webinar.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hakeem.
Have a nice day.
You too. Bye.